to all of you, I'm very happy to be here in this room, virtual room with all of you. And thanks to IHub, Dr. Hiranmai, and everyone else of his team who invited me and organized this session. As you can understand, it is not easy to manage, and with all the technological barriers for me to connect to thousands of you here in this room, virtual room. So I'll share with you obviously a few stories and the movie which you've seen a little bit earlier. I'll actually walk you through the story a little bit more. Who is the person, what he did, and what is the impact that he's able to make. So the overall goal of today's talk is how do we go from ideas to impact, but also how do we do it through creativity, innovation, and entrepreneurship. That's the overall big picture. And what I'll do is within that, I'll talk about that in this journey of idea to impact, you also have some what is called as values of depth. So I'll mention to you what are these values of depth, and we'll also give you a formula which we call as golden spiral to cross those values of depth a little more easily than others can do. The second part of today's session, we will mention that how do you build an innovation ecosystem in your institutions? Because you want your students to think innovatively, create innovative products, and of course, create a company and offer the products to the market. So how do you do that? How do you create innovation ecosystem? And I'll also argue with you that why maybe healthcare is a very nice place to start building the ecosystem. The third part of today's talk will be about, okay, having built an ecosystem, how do you actually now define a new idea, develop the solution, deliver the product, and deploy it into the actual practice? That is the third part. The fourth part is where I'll go back to the story which you saw briefly in the video, which is essentially a smart stethoscope which is used for telemedicine. And why this story is very close to my heart is that the very first purchase order came from Bhavnagar, which is in Gujarat. And that part of the story also I'll tell you what happened, how it happened, and so on. And the fifth part, I'll talk about how do you, in your institutions, in your organizations, you can streamline and scale up and sustain the innovation entrepreneurship activities. What I'll also do is after every section, we will have what I call as reflection point. So I'll ask a question there, and I would request you to type your answer in the discussion box or a chat box, whatever. So just to test out whether it is working properly or not, I request you to first go to your chat box or discussion box and type the answer yes or no. Okay, yes or no. Yes, I'm able to hear the session clearly, or no, I'm not able to hear the session clearly. And it will also be good if you want to put your name and organization. And I'm requesting Dr. Hiranmai ji to look at the chat box and let us know if everything is fine. So he will be my eyes and ears to make sure the session is running fine. Okay. So if you can go to chat box and type, are you able to hear the session loud and clear? Okay. Am I very fast? Should I go a little slow? Are you able to hear clearly? Is the video very clear? Can you just put yes or no? Yes, it is good, or no, it is not good. If it is not good, why it is not good? Okay, Hiranmai ji, can you just check the chat box and see if people are responding?
Wonderful.
No issues?
Yes.
Okay. As long as more yeses are there, we can go ahead.
Yeah, more yes. Everybody yes.
All right. Thank you very much. So here we start with the first part. Okay. So the first part, let me start saying that you know how innovative we Indians are. Okay. It is called jugaad. Okay. So whether it is shaving without a mirror, making lassi for large number of people in a washing machine, putting the truck tires on a bullock cart so it can go more smoothly. This is all known. If you just look at, you say India and jugaad, you will find many examples of beautiful ideas that Indians are doing to solve the problems. Even in the COVID times, you see some nice solutions. The milk wala is giving milk without physical contact. I think the mandatory is 2 meters distance by putting a plastic pipe to give the milk. And then you have also the second bottom picture where the auto rickshaw fellow has put the seat reverse. So people don't breathe into each other's mouth. So distance is less, but actually you're breathing in opposite directions, which actually makes it safer. So Indians have ideas, okay, and this is very wonderful to see all these jugaad ideas. So if Indians are so good, how come at this point of time we are importing everything? The cameras to mobile phones to laptops to kitchen equipment to consumer goods, defense equipment. You just heard the government has put a 30,000 crore for Rafale jet imports. Okay, no, sorry, I think from Russia, MiG jets, and also industrial machinery, medical devices. Why are we importing all those things if we are so innovative and so underpricing? And all of you are very underpricing people. The answer is that at this point of time, Indian industry is actually struggling, and is struggling to even meet the quality, matching the quality of the Western countries like America and Germany. We are not able to match the quality of those products, nor we are able to meet the prices of the Eastern countries like China and Vietnam and Bangladesh, Thailand. They're able to make products at a lower price than us. Okay, but if you look at customers, customers are not really loyal. They're not loyal in some sense. If you give a better product at a lower price, the customer will come to you. Okay. So in the whole scenario, looks like that. Is it even any hope for our companies? Do you think our companies can even replace Chinese companies that government is asking us to do? The answer is yes, because at this point of time, and all of your engineering and science students, you would know all these new technologies: 3D scanning, CAD, 3D printing, virtual reality, cloud, Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, machine learning. All these things are great new tools for us to rethink and innovate and create new products with better features, better reliability, better quality, more affordable. It is actually possible to do that. So we can think about designed in India, manufactured in India products at this point of time. But it is not easy unless we actually bring all the disciplines together. A product is not a mechanical product or a electrical product. Okay, a product is a product. You need, if it's a medical product, let's say if you want to build a mask or you want to build a ventilator, you need medicine people, you need science people, biology and physics and chemistry people, you need design, creative design people, engineering, technology, social sciences, management people. All of them have to work together. The question is, do you have the ecosystem? Do you have platforms? Do you have systems in the country today where all of them can sit together and work together? That question is a question mark at this point of time. So we need to build a ecosystem. Ecosystem means a facility, some kind of a environment for all of us to work together. So before we talk about the environment, let us talk about what is the journey of a innovation. Okay, and this is very important for both teachers and students to understand very carefully that when you get an idea or a concept in the mind, it is in the mind. It is not enough. You need to show it on a table. You have to build a proof of concept. Now you can build a proof of concept using paper and plastic and tubes and cardboard and things like that. It doesn't have to work completely. It is just to explain what you have in mind. That is POC or proof of concept. That you can do in a laboratory. Okay. You can even do it at home. Okay. But the second step is to convert the proof of concept into a prototype. Prototype is a working product. It actually functions. You can demonstrate that to the potential end user. And that you can build using 3D printing and breadboard, electronic circuits, mobile apps, all these put together, you can build a working prototype. That I call it as invention. Now, do not stop there. Most faculty and students will stop there, write a paper or file a patent and hope that someone will come and give him big money to commercialize a patent. That does not happen. It will not happen unless you convert the prototype into a product. The product means what? Not one piece, but a building, let us say 5 or 10 pieces of the product, so that people can see that, okay, you can build that. You have instructions on how to manufacture that, how to test that. Okay, and it's actually a working product. It's not loose wires. If you drop it, it doesn't break. So it's a proper product. Only you have made only 5-10 pieces. That's all. That is when you call it as a invention is converted into innovation. It is ready to market. Okay, but not yet. That is actually commercialized through a company, either a startup company or a regular industry. You get a license to manufacture, buy equipment and facilities and hire people to produce in large numbers, and then do marketing and distribution and make money and all that. So if you see on the left side from academia and ideas to society through the companies and market, that's a long journey. And unless you do that, travel the entire journey, it is meaningless to start the journey. You can start a journey get some experience, but the real impact will happen, idea to impact, only when you travel the entire journey. Now, one second you ask the question to yourself, which among the 4 valleys of death I've shown you here, which of them you think is the most critical, the most deadly? Think about for a second. Okay. And if you thought third valley of death, you are right. It is the third valley of death where you have to convert the research prototype into marketable product. That is where most people fail. Academics think it is industry's job. Industry think it is academics' job. No one does anything. And like a borderline road between two states, there is no bridge. And that is where things will fall down. So if you can somehow figure out how to cross the third valley of death, you can go the last distance, because the fourth valley is not difficult. Business people know how to manufacture and sell things, but third valley of death, if you can cross that. So now let me go back to what is the issue there? Why people are not able to put academics and society together? So let me draw a graph for you, and teachers may love it. I'm drawing a graph which is where y-axis has creation and transfer, x-axis has knowledge and products. If you cross them, you get 4 quadrants. Knowledge creation quadrant is research, knowledge transfer quadrant is education, product creation quadrant is development, and product transfer quadrant is business. Okay. And typically we think that there are 4 different kinds of people, scientist or teacher and engineer and businessman, entrepreneur. They do different kinds of things. Okay. And we also have this big mental divide that academia, knowledge, represented by Saraswati, and business and products and wealth, represented by Lakshmi, there is a big wall between them. They cannot coexist. You agree with me? All of you agree with me? We have mind block saying that Lakshmi and Saraswati, knowledge and business cannot coexist. And when I showed this slide to someone I really respect, he said, no, of course it is very difficult. Unless you put a lot of Shakti in the middle to bring them together, it is not possible in India, because our mindset says these two are different. No, it is not possible. We have to bring them together, and we have to put a lot of energy or Shakti to do that. Then only we can convert our knowledge into wealth. Okay. So that is one very important lesson for teachers to think about. You have to think about the impact or the business or commercialization of your research and ideas. Ideas may not be very great ideas, even simple ideas. If you can think that they can make a difference, it's a first stepping point. The second thing that I would like to share with teachers, that just think for a minute, out of the 4 things that you see in the 4 corners, research and teaching and maybe product development and maybe spending time in the real world, what do you love most? Most teachers and even students, you might love one of the 4 things, or maybe 2 of the 4 things. Some teachers love to teach, and they said, don't please, at promotion time, don't ask for publications. I don't like to do research. Some teachers will say, I like to do research only, don't ask me to teach any classes. This does not work. In a real world, if you want to really make a difference from idea to impact, academia to society, you have to connect all the 4 sides. And like Chakravyuh of Abhimanyu, there is only one starting point, and that starting point is real world. By real world, I mean that as teachers and even as students, you have to get out of your classroom and office and laboratories, go to real world. Of course, Corona times, it is difficult if you have done it before or you do it carefully. By real world, I mean it could be a hospital or a hotel or a farm or a factory. Go to the real world, observe what is happening, watch what problems are they facing, and come back to the class, next class, and tell a story to your students saying, last weekend I attended or I saw this hotel, this guy was making chapati and was burning his hands. He had too many customers at the same time. He said, I wish I had a chapati making machine. Okay, tell a story in the class, show them some photos or videos, and some student will say, why are they doing like that? Why can't they make a chapati like this? Why can't they use a system like that? And do not come in the way. As teachers, we immediately will say, oh, it is very difficult. Someone must have tried it. It is too expensive. Why are you wasting your time? We do all these negative thoughts. Don't do that. Let the student try it out. Even if he fails, no problem, because I'll tell you later, failure actually is very good in innovation journey. Okay. So if you let the student try and it does something, and you go back to the hotel or hospital or farm or a factory and tell them that my student tried something, would you like to check it out? If you do it again and again and again, you make a difference. You can make an impact. Okay. Now, this kind of a thing everyone cannot do. Okay. So out of thousands of people attending the session today, Hiranmaji, maybe you can clarify how many people are attending today. It's like only few people can make a difference in society. There's only one Modi ji, right? I mean, all of us cannot become Modi ji. So you need people who can make a difference. And I am giving you a formula here, and think about it. Are you the person who can do this thing? Okay. So I need people. You first ask yourself in your mind: is there something you really love to do? Is there something you are very good at doing? Is there something what you're doing you can be paid for? You can make money out of it, and also something that the world needs. How do you know this is correct? Whatever you really love to do, it keeps you cheerful. You forget food and sleep. When you're doing something what you love to do, you forget food and sleep. It keeps you keep very cheerful. What you're good at doing, that is what you have been trained for. Your education, your training, your experience, it makes you confident. Then you know you are good at that. And of course, what can be paid for, money comes and you can buy your house and car and all that. It makes your life comfortable. But the fourth one, what the world really needs, if you do that, it gives you inner contentment. And again, like last time, let me give you 4 quadrants. What you love to do and what you're good at doing, that is what is passion. What you're good at doing, that is what your degree is, and what you're paid for, your salary comes, that is your profession. I hope you can recognize this doctor. He's a famous heart surgeon from South. Okay, try to recognize his face and name. What you can be paid for and what makes you content, what the world needs is vocation. I hope you can recognize this man. Super 30, he's the one who was teacher of Super 30, Anand Kumar. Now he did not do it for business. Okay, he did it, and that is what is called vocation. What you do in outside your normal profession, but gives you some money, and the world needs that. That is your vocation. And the fourth one, what you love to do and the world needs, that is called as mission. Now your trick is to find, each one of you should think about. Hiranmaji, is the line still clear? Are you able to hear me?
Absolutely, perfectly clear.
Okay, thank you. What all of you should think in your mind is, what is it that one thing that connects all the 4 things? Number 1. And as teachers, you look around yourself and say, which student has all the 4 things in him or her? And that's the kind of people, if you can identify them, if you can mentor them, if you can support them, they will make a difference to you and me, our life, to the country, to the state in the next few years. The trick is to find people who can connect all the 4 things. Or for every one of you, find what is it that one thing that connects all the 4 things for you, and find and go after that particular job or a domain or that kind of a project for you. Okay. Now, in the whole business, the question is, if you want to build the ecosystem with the right kind of facilities to cover all the valleys of death, and to find people of different types and select them, train them, mentor them, which area should you choose? Okay. And any one of these sounds good at this point of time. And the pandemic actually has shown us that what is essential for life. Okay. And you can see here, the good health is there, your water sanitation is there, partnerships is there, all clean water, zero hunger, clean energy. All these are what is called as Sustainable Development Goals, SDG, which has been defined by the United Nations. You can pick any one of those areas. But we will do that. And if you can see one particular number 3, which is about good health. And health is not just one. If you look at it, health, care, and innovation, and connect that with the life on land, and then you look at also work and economic growth and poverty, and other side you see inequality, health plus other things, health plus innovation plus poverty plus jobs plus innovation and life. Actually, it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of the 17 goals are around healthcare innovation, affordable healthcare innovation. Okay, so that makes a very good point to start. But we will talk about that in the second part, which is ecosystem and why we should start with healthcare. I'll talk about that in a minute. But before that, let's talk about the first reflection point. I would like all of you to type yes or no in the chat box to the question. The question is, can teachers actually guide or mentor students to become entrepreneurs? As teacher, please think what you believe. Do you believe that you can actually create business people out of students? Technology, entrepreneur, innovation, entrepreneurship? Say yes. And if you want, write a word saying yes because of this or no because of this reason. And students also, please think about it. Do you think your teachers can help you to become business people? So this question is for everyone, teachers and students. And Hiranmaji, as usual, please take a look at the chat boxes and let me know if anything really interesting comes up.
90% says yes.
That is great. If it's yes, then there should be so many companies coming out of Gujarat right now.
I hardly see a no. And even if no, there is, yeah, absolutely.
All right. So this is good. So I'm happy that all of you believe that it's possible. And because that is actually, I'm very happy because whatever I'm going to tell you next is actually telling you a lot of small things, but very important things about how you can actually do that, how you can actually create the success stories. So let us go to section number 2. And I'm going to talk about how do you build the ecosystem and why healthcare may be a good place to start. So reason number 1, I'll give you 4 reasons. Reason number 1 is that right now, there are lots of healthcare problems. 14,000 different healthcare problems are there. And all these problems require affordable medical devices to screen and diagnose and monitor and operations and treatment and rehabilitation. For all these things, we need medical devices. The pictures I'm showing you here are only few of the thousands and thousands of different medical devices that you need. Now, on top of that, at this point of time in India, we need 50,000 crores rupees worth of devices every year. Okay, and out of that, we are importing 40,000 crores of equipment from USA. 1/3 imports are from USA, then others are from Germany. Now some are coming from Taiwan and Japan and China, Malaysia, all those countries. Okay, but unfortunately, if you see our per capita expenditure, per person per year expenditure on healthcare in India is 1% of USA. So America is let's say selling us ventilator, for example. Ventilators are needed for the critical patients of COVID. Each ventilator costs you 10, 15, 20 lakh rupees. Okay. Now that is okay in USA because they can afford it. Okay. Our per capita expenditure on healthcare is 100, 1% of that. How can we afford? How can you put ventilators in every hospital in the country? Not possible. So we have to make healthcare affordable. That is reason number 1. Reason number 2 is actually healthcare gives a very nice option for all of us to work together. You take bio and combine bio with any subject, chemistry, electronics, and medical or mechanical or physics, even statistics, okay, or even technology. You get so many areas where people can actually work together. And I mentioned to you that collaboration is essential for medical and healthcare and any innovation. But here is huge opportunity for collaboration of almost anyone in your college, any branch, any discipline, any interest area. They can actually join hands and work together and do some great research as well as development and innovation. The reason number 3 is at this point of time, there is a fantastic government support for healthcare innovation. India spends about 1.2% of GDP on healthcare so far. Government has decided to almost double it to 2%. Which means a lot more money is available for doing healthcare innovation and research and development and commercialization. If you look at BIRAC is just one government organization, and they have a dozen different schemes to support innovators at every stage. You're an academician, you want to do research, there is a scheme for you called PACE. You are a student who wants to do initially try something out, you have something called as SIPP and SPARSH. Okay, if you are, even Satari is also there. Srishti also is for that. You already have student develop some product, you want to commercialize that, do a startup. There's a BIG scheme, Biotechnology Ignition Grant, 50 lakh rupees, a full check coming in the name of the innovator or the startup company. Can you look at 50 lakh rupees? You get a great start. So a lot of money is like that being spent by the government and all the incubators which are there, all the support is there. So at this point of time, government support is fantastic in healthcare innovation. And you could leverage that. That is my reason number 3. Reason number 4, of course, is social impact. You do affordable healthcare, reduce the cost per device or cost of diagnosis or treatment per patient, you're actually making a difference. And especially poor people who are, if they're out of job, even for one day, forget about months and weeks, there's a loss of pay, they become burden on the family. It's a huge problem. And if you can even prevent that from happening, you get so much satisfaction by doing that. Plus, healthcare actually can create a lot of jobs. At this point of time in USA, healthcare is the number one employer. 13%, 1 in 6 people in USA is employed in healthcare industry. So you can imagine the employment potential of healthcare industry. High value, which means you can create entrepreneurs, and also you have large numbers, which means large number of people can get involved in healthcare jobs, various kinds of jobs. And of course, if you do a good thing of the whole thing, people are looking forward to India. All the Arab, Middle East, Africa, Southeast Asia, they look up to India for leading the innovation, healthcare, all those aspects, because they also have issues of affordable healthcare. So if you can show the way, they're all our customers. So you can even do exports and you can earn a lot of revenue for the country. So how do you build the innovation ecosystem? Okay, and to do that, you need to bring 4 stakeholders together. In case you are watching this on your mobile phone and the font is very small, don't worry too much. There are only 4 main things what you see on the screen. The first stakeholder is government, and government has only 2 main jobs. One is funding, second is facilitating through standards and licensing and regulation, all those things. Second side is the end user. The green one is hospital, but hospital only if you are working for the healthcare industry. My talk is not only for healthcare. Supposing you want to do agricultural technology, agricultural innovation, then the green one gets replaced with a agriculture university or farming sector, farming R&D institute, things like that. That is where you find the problem, get the feedback on solution as it is being developed, and finally test the solution eventually. So you need those partners, the end users partners. And on the right side, you have industry, where you go them for prototyping, for manufacturing, for investments, and so on. And finally, you have the academia. That is where you find the people, young people like you, students who are in the room, who you identify as a potential innovator, entrepreneur. You identify them, train them, support them through a proper group of people and institutions and so on. So this is the ecosystem that you need to build if you want to create the whole thing. After ecosystem, you also need a pipeline. By pipeline, I mean that you need to have some way of identifying, training, supporting people. What I'm showing you is a pipeline that we have built for healthcare innovation. So it starts from a hackathon called Medical Device Hackathon. We do it typically in April, May, June, July, but unfortunately this year we could not do. And it's a 2-day event, and we don't do it in IIT Bombay, we do it in other places. So actually we were thinking of doing that in iHub in Ahmedabad. And so what we do is we run this hackathon, we give the problems to the young people, and they form teams because it is a medical hackathon. Every team has one doctor or even a medical student or a biomedical student and one engineering side, at least 2 or 4 people per team. Then those who win the competition and others who want to get trained, we bring them to a 1-week training camp called Medical Device Innovation Camp, MEDIC. And those who actually again win the MEDIC camp, we give them 1 year of fellowship in our lab. Our lab is called BETIC. And within 1 year, they're supposed to develop a product and exhibit that. Because when you exhibit something and you have potential customers and partners and of course doctors if it's medical device, they come and talk to you, and then you feel really, oh, looks like my product is very interesting to a lot of people. Or you may get a lot of feedback saying, why are you doing something like that? Why can't you make a product for this domain? So you get a lot of feedback, okay? Positive, negative, both are useful. And once you are very clear, then you go and start a company. Usually people start a company and then develop products. I tell them, please don't do that. Develop a product first, test it out in the lab, even show it to people. Once you are very sure that you have almost customers ready, then you start a company. Because if you get a revenue in year 1, 2, and 3, then a company becomes very valuable to investors. If investors don't put money in the company, you cannot grow a little later. And once your incubation is over, then you can go into the industry or research park and things like that. So typically from the identifying a problem to solving and putting the solution product in the market, you can do it in 2 to 3 years time for many, many products. So just I'm showing some pictures to you now. So these are all the pictures of people who attended our hackathons in the last 3-4 years. You can see we have done it in Bangalore, in Wardha, in Pune, and Nagpur, and Kolhapur, and things like that. Not in IIT Bombay. We always do it in other institutions so that the whole ecosystem gets built in those places. all of them have built innovation ecosystems within months of the hackathon happening. And then we also do the camp. Mostly now we are doing camp in IIT Bombay. We do it every September. I don't know whether we can do this semester, September. Doesn't look like. But this is a 5-day camp where we tell people how to define a problem, how to create a solution, how to test it, how do you file a patent, how to make a business plan, how to present it to investors or jury members and all that. So all this gets trained in 5 days and 4 nights. It's a continuous 5-day, 4-night event. And the winners of that, we bring them to our lab. And you can see from the faces, many of them are actually in their 20s, some are even in their 30s. And these people, many of them have left good jobs or job offers. And then they continue because they want to make a difference to the world. And they are passionate people. And we put them in touch with the doctors. These are all doctors who visited our lab in one particular day. So these students who talk to doctors, and remember, these students, they are not students, they're all working professionals, and they come from all backgrounds. You see, medical, design, electronics, manufacturing, quality, management system, so on. So these, but they're all engineers, okay? So these engineers talk to doctors again and again and again to understand a problem, create a solution, and take it forward. We don't have any great facilities that you cannot build in your own institutions. We just have a simple lab where you can build prototypes, basic prototypes, kacha prototypes, proof of concepts. Then on the right side, you can do basic CAD, simulation, mechanical parts, electronic parts. And on the bottom, you can see the prototyping, a 3D printer, and basic soldering and PCB design, making things like that. All this can be put together for a few lakh rupees in any institution. It doesn't cost that much money. What you need is a mindset to actually go and make a difference. Remember the pipeline I mentioned to you? I said made hackathon and then the camps and then the actual 1 year of fellowship. But after that, you put in exhibition. So we we organize our own exhibitions, and also we put in exhibitions organized by other people. So here you see Dr. Harshvardhan ji in an event called India Innovation Science Fair, 15, 16, 17. It happens different parts of the country. And every time we have put some device, and he has actually come to our booth and he has seen what we have done. And of course, we also organize in IIT Bombay and other places also. So exhibitions are very important because they allow the innovator to get the first-hand feedback from the potential, the market in general, the world in general. So that is very important part. So we are done with the second part of the session today, where I mentioned that building the innovation ecosystem is very important, and we need to cover all those values of depth mentioned to you. But to do that, you bring all the stakeholders together. I mentioned to you government, end users, and industry and academia. And I also argued with you that to build the ecosystem, healthcare domain is a very good place to start. For many reasons, I gave you many reasons. It is important, it is essential, funding is there, you can make a social impact, you can bring people together, okay? So all these reasons, healthcare projects is always good to start. I'm not saying that you should do healthcare only. The facilities that you build can be used for any domain. But healthcare projects always bring people closer together, and you get a lot of goodwill from the industry, from the society. Everyone chips in with some help, and it lowers the ego and they get into that. So I hope you agree with that. So we take the second reflection point at this section, and I would like you to type in the chat box if you agree that healthcare is a good place to start. But tell me which other domain you think is a good domain which satisfies the 4 criteria I mentioned to you, or more criteria. What other area, field is very, very important for India right now, where we have to build the innovation ecosystem. So just type the name of the field, and if you wish, you can also say this dash why it is important. If you wish, you can type why also. But just even if you type which field we should build ecosystem, I'll be very happy. So again,
I can see Professor Dr. Umesh says agriculture, Sardul says agriculture,
great.
Professor Nikesh says agriculture, Sami Bhatt says agriculture, Ankur says sustainable energy. So agri and sustainable energy getting measured.
Yeah.
Somebody is saying textile, but Professor Madhu is saying textile processing, energy harvesting, IT applications, nanotechnology, Oh, agriculture gang is maximum.
You know, I actually agree with all of them. You know, I think we all know that thanks to COVID, more than anything, more than being alive, the next thing to being alive is food, you know. And it's very clear that healthcare actually has become agriculture, food technology, rural technologies and food-based technologies. They are absolutely important. I'll also add to you right now, healthcare, where healthcare was 5 years back, agricultural technology is right now in that particular stage. And I'll also tell something secret here. A lot of smart people, I'm talking about NIT students, IIT students, many IIM students, they're all getting into agriculture technology at this point of time. If you want to, if you are investors and you're looking at share market, agri-tech companies put money in them today. You know, I think you will have good returns in the next 5-10 years. So thank you for the feedback. I really completely agree with you that agri-tech is absolutely number one, number two at this point of time. So we go into the third part now, and the third part is actually where I'll share with you a process for converting ideas to impact. Okay, so I give you a four-stage process. The four stages are called as define, develop, deliver, and deploy. And as you can see under define, I have put a bracket called doctor. But again, doctor is only for healthcare. If you want to do agri-tech, you replace doctor with farmer. And it's more or less the process is almost 90% same. Slight changes here and there, you need to do that. Now, each of those stages, I divide into four steps. So when you say the first stage is defining what problem you want to solve, you have to build a team. You have to go and immerse yourself in the domain. If it's a medical, you go and visit hospitals. If it's agri-tech, go and visit the farms or agricultural farms. Okay, and visit does not mean that you go in the morning by AC car and come back in the evening by the same AC car. No, immersion means you actually stay there for days, weeks, maybe months if necessary. My minimum thing for each of those steps is 1 month. You can take 1 month to find a team, at least 1 month, know each other, you know, go for trekking and hiking together and so on. 1 month of clinical immersion, 1 month of actually doing field immersion. Take 1 month to define exactly what you want to do and 1 month to evolve concepts and see if the concept is feasible or not. I'm going to show you right after this a few slides, one each of maybe some of these slides, so that you can actually go into detail of what I mean by each of those steps. So, and the next stage is actually developing a solution, where you have the researcher or engineers coming into picture. And of course, it means designing, prototyping, manufacturing, and all those things. And then you have the third step when you do the pilot manufacturing, which means a batch of products. And then you can do some lab testing, hospital trials. Again, if you're doing agri-tech, instead of hospital trials, you say field trials or farming trials. Okay, and so finally you need to get some kind of certification saying that your thing is safe or efficient or whatever it is. And finally, you need to find it to deploy it. That is where you need investors. So without money, you cannot do mass production, and then you have to create a business model, hire people, have an office, all those things you need to do, marketing, all those things. And if you start with some 400 ideas, in our case, we had 400 problems we have from different hospitals, different doctors, but we only took 200 forward to prototype stage, development stage. Out of that, we only took 50-55 forward to product stage, which is essentially patent stage, and finally only about 22 actual commercialization of the products. So you can see the numbers will come down, but if you do the game very well, the final 20 will be very successful products. Now we'll just show one slide very quickly. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but out of 16 steps, maybe I'll go into 10 slides of how do you do some of those things more carefully. So first one is a team building. And team building, definitely you need one person who is a domain. So B is a biology here, because in healthcare you need that. Otherwise, if it's agri-tech, you put A and say agricultural scientist or agricultural expert or a farmer. You need design people who can come with new ideas. You need electronics and software people, because these days everything you can make it more valuable, more affordable, more efficient by bringing electronics and software applications and so on. And of course, you also need mechanical, manufacturing, management people, because actually finally you have to manufacture something. Now these four have to be part of the team, or you have to have expertise or access to that. Number Number two is I mentioned to you that you need to have clinical immersion, domain immersion. So you have to go to friends, how they're diagnosing them, how they're following with them, what are the complications there. Ask them questions. Ask questions. Who, what, when, where, how, and why. Ask why many times. If doctor says I'm doing this, ask him why. If doctor says I'm doing like this because he's saying, ask him why again and again. And so you can go to the root cause, because once you ask these questions very well, you can define the problem very well. Because if you define the problem very well, it is not halfway, and this is more colloquial kind of a thing. But if you do not define the problem properly, you are solving the wrong problem. And your problem definition must be very clear. It should not be vague. It should be very short, 10, 12 words. Okay, very clear definition. Do not point to solution. Do not say that I want to solve the problem using this method. Don't do that. Keep the problem and solution separate. Okay. And number three, go to the root cause. Go that when you ask why again, go to the root cause and solve the root cause problem. So just give an example. A good problem statement should have what you want to achieve, why you want to achieve, and who it is going to benefit. So an example of that is, suppose you say, I want a portable cabinet to safely store medicines in rural hospitals. Portable cabinet is your desired outcome. Safely store medicines is your need, and rural hospital is your target customer. So this is a reasonably good example of a definition. Now, if you remember from a previous slide, I said that even if you take 1 month to come with this one line statement, it is completely worth it, because many times you are solving the wrong problems. And that is why most products fail in the market, because you are either solving the wrong problem or your target solution is not matching the target customer. Okay, so you have to get this right, and this is perhaps a very important slide for you. Once you define the problem very well, that is when you create your solutions. You think about brainstorming your different ways of solving problems. You can look at nature, and you can say that, you know, an owl is looking like that, or your bat transmits signals like that, or earthworm goes into earth like that. You just look at nature, birds and animals and trees and, you know, all rocks. Nature has solutions to problems that humankind is yet to encounter. So you just can borrow ideas from nature, for example. And there are many techniques for doing brainstorming. What I call just now from nature is called bionics. So there are many techniques for creating solutions, but finally you sketch the solution, and so you can show to someone and say, this is what I have in mind. But also you have to do a feasibility check. Feasibility check means before you actually put money into your business, just ask yourself, do you really going to have customers? Are there enough people who say that they need this product? Do you have a great value proposition? And don't tell me that it's going to be 10% cheaper. You know, 10% cheaper, 10% better is useless. Is it going to be 10 times better, 10 times easier, and not cheaper only? You know, low cost is good, but only low cost people think, okay, it's a quality ठीक नहीं है, you know, वैसा नहीं होना चाहिए. So you think about creating a new feature, a better product, high quality product. Cost also low is like a bonus. And then you also look at, is it possible to do? Whatever machines you have got, whatever partners you have got, you know, and whatever team you have got, it should be doable in next 2, 3, 5 years. If it takes 10 years, 10 years में तो technology change हो जाएगा, right? So you can't develop something after 10 years, starting today. Everything is going to change. So do something quickly. Within next 2 years, your product should be in the market. And finally, if you do not have a good team, you cannot go ahead. And team must have all those people which I mentioned to you. Also within the team, you should have someone who is good at technology, someone good at marketing, someone good at finance, someone good at management. So if you have 4 people who management point of view and 4 people which I told you earlier from that point of view, then you have a good chance of success. Next is, if you remember the steps, design and some virtual prototyping. So thanks to CAD, computer aided design these days, you can create a model, you can do simulation of the motions, assembly animation you can do virtual stress simulation. Engineers, mechanical engineers in the room will understand what I'm talking about. Others you may not understand, but it's possible today to test, build and test things on computer almost 80% as good as physical testing. Not 100%, definitely not. But this goes a long way because you can show the pictures to your end customers before you actually build the product. So it saves you a lot of time and money. And then you build the actual physical product. So from the detailed design, and the right side picture is only a virtual prototype. It's only CAD model. It looks realistic, but it is not real. The real thing is 3D printing on the bottom left, where you can use a plastic 3D printing, which is not very expensive. And finally, you can also do an actual manufacturing metal prototype. So what you're seeing is a machine to do sewing, for example, a hand suturing machine for medical applications. So you can do all these things. And then, of course, you have to do testing. Without testing, you cannot put the products in the market. I don't know if you have heard the news about ventilators in the market failing. There's one ventilator from Jyoti CNC, which apparently was not accepted by the doctors of Ahmedabad, the government civil hospital. So there's no point in selling a product unless you test it in the lab. And that is one difference where this Germans and Americans and Japanese, they're very, very good at, they spend more time in testing than in design and manufacturing. And we Indians we do shortcuts. Chalta hai, chalta hai doesn't chalta hai if you want to capture the world market. You have to test and test and test. And medical devices, you have to also test on human beings with a lot of permissions of the hospital and government. So this was what you see on the picture is a knee implant for people who have bone cancer. So this was also developed in our lab. And it took us 15 years from design and manufacturing, testing of 4 years. We tested that on machines around the left side. Then we put into the human trials last year. And now it's successful. So all these things you need to do. And then, of course, somewhere in the middle, you file a patent. As you know, patent means you actually are giving all the information to the government, all the details of the drawings of your invention. But then, what about others copying that? No, because once you give the drawing to the government gives you a legal document saying this patent belongs to this person. And after that, anyone else copies it, you can actually take them to court and get them banned from manufacturing that. Now, slowly, India was initially copying left and right and all this cheating was happening. But now we are coming to the very strong legal framework for people simply cannot copy and sell things. And because a lot of selling these days is online now. So the moment you put your product online, people can catch you and say, and pull you down, and you can actually go to jail. You can't copy illegally. So patenting, to do patenting, and your entire session is about IPR, so you will hear about it in great detail. But to patent, you need to have basically 3 criteria satisfied. It has to be new, it has to be useful, it has to be non-obvious. Okay, what is non-obvious? I think some expert will tell you in next few days. I'm not going to go into details. But unless something is new, you cannot file the patent. And teachers, please remember one thing. The moment you invent something in your lab and you write a paper, you can't patent that, because the moment you write a paper, it is no longer new. You have written a paper, your own paper is preventing your own innovation from being patented. So always patent first and then publish. Always, always. Okay. Please remember this point even if you forget the other things. Now, of course, this is a long path to patenting. In India, sometimes you file a patent, it takes maybe 3, 4, 5 years to actually be granted the patent. But that doesn't have to worry you. The day you file the patent, it's called as a provisional specification. Your rights will start, because you have it's a legal document which says you have filed a provisional patent, and your right starts then itself. And you have completely 12 months of filing what is called as the complete specifications, which means you can change the drawing, change the claim, whatever it is. So it takes about, you get about 12 months to do the complete specifications. There are different countries, but complete specifications, don't get confused. The slide says after 18 months. After 18 months is the bottom one. The top one is within 12 months you have to file the complete specifications. Just remember that. Now, after that, once you file the patent and you have done your testing, basic manufacturing and so on, you have to be clear about the business model and how are you going to operate, how are you going to get the funds. So again, maybe this workshop will tell you a little bit about how are you going to do the business model canvas. All those things will be covered, but basically 4 things. One is offering. What exactly are you offering your customers? Is it a product? Is it a service? Is it an outright purchase? Is it a rental purchase? Is it a product plus service? Whatever it is, what are you going to offer? Number 1. Number two, who is the customer? Not user, customer. Customer is the one who pays for it. User is one who uses that. So hospital may buy, that is the customer. The user could be a surgeon or a doctor or a patient. Patient is not a customer, okay, in a hospital. But if you are selling a glucose machine directly to the customer, who is also a user, that is a customer plus user. Then you need to worry about the supply chain of the parts which come to the factory, and then distribution channel for the products from the factory to the end user. So both supply chain, which is incoming materials, distribution channel, which is outcoming factory to end users, both of them have to be thought about, and there's a lot of details about it. You can discuss supply chain and distribution for next one whole year and still have not enough knowledge. People do PhDs on this topic. And finally, of course, financial sustainability. How are you going to raise money to start, to scale up? All have different kinds of people. And of course, you have different options to start up. You can create your own startup. A teacher can be a advisor or a director of a company, not a what's called as executive director, but non-executive director. It is legally valid. And now government policies are now allowing teachers of engineering colleges, maybe science college also, to become part of startups. You can't get two salaries, remember that, and a lot of small details are there. But someone hopefully will tell you all those things. If you have questions, I can also answer that. So of course, students can create a startup company, or as a teacher or student, you don't want to do your own business, you can license your technology or patent to other companies. You can also give it free of cost to a not-for-profit NGO, okay, society, NGO, not-for-profit company. Section 8 company is a not-for-profit company. You can give it to them at a small fee or a no fee. That is possible. You can also put your design open source, saying anyone who wants to copy, please copy. You just give credit to me. मेरा नाम ले लीजिए, आपको जो करना कर लीजिए. That is also okay. That's called open source. And when it comes to money, of course, you need different kinds of money. The first step in any business is to establish a minimum viable product, MVP. Okay, and then you create a minimum viable market. Are there enough people who are going to buy your things? You need to have a business entity. What kind of company? Startup, private limited, public limited, all those partnerships. What kind of business entity? And finally, you want to scale up and sustain. So the kind of money that you need for these activities are completely different. So you can do the initial one with a personal funds or a college project funds and all that. Second one, maybe you can use angel funds. That's not the only way. For each one of them, you can have multiple ways of funding. I'm just giving you 4 examples. When you want to establish an entity or scale up, maybe venture funds at that point of time. When you really want to scale up, go international, brand building, you need big monies, and big monies come from private equity or from doing a IPO or from or doing mergers and acquisitions. So the multiple ways of funding from all those steps are just given one example here, just for you to think about it. Okay, so we end of part 3 now, and we talked about, in this part we talked about 4 different steps of how do you do the define, develop, deliver, and deploy. We talked about 4 stages. Each one of them is the stages. Each stage could take 3 to 4 months, maybe even 5-6 months, and each one of those stages has 4 steps. Each step can typically take about 1 month or so. So total 16 steps, which I mentioned to you, can take about 1.5 years to 2 years. But it is difficult to do anything shorter than that. If you do things properly, you want to build a high quality technology product for a good market, and you want to create a good business line, have good investors and so on, it takes at least 1.5 to 2 years to do that. So the students who are thinking about doing this in their 3rd year, you are in a good shape, because by the time you finish your final year, you almost have a chance of starting your own business. And same with teachers. So if you tell the students to start thinking business in their end of 2nd year, 3rd year, it's great. But even if you start thinking in your 3rd year or 4th year, and if you spend another 1 year trying to do business, absolutely no problem. Because that 1 year, if you succeed, great. You're building a business. You can give job to yourself and your friends and maybe even some family members. If you fail in the business, no problem, because you learn so much from that the next time you go to some job as a job employee in some company, and they ask you what you were doing for the last 1 year, and you say, I was trying to start the business and it failed, they'll ask you a lot of questions. And questions, the kind of answers that you give is so valuable, they'll actually give you one promotion right and then and there. So whether you succeed or fail in technology, innovation, business, it is a success only. Because winning or either you succeed or fail, it is still a win-win situation for you. So how it happened and how exemplifying the whole thing, I'm going to tell a story to you right now, right after this. But before the story, as usual, one more reflection point. And please tell me in your chat box, do you really think that as Indians, are we ready to accept failures in innovation? Failures will happen. Your business will not, first business may or may not take off. Maybe first one will fail, second one you try, it will partially succeed. Maybe third one will really take off very fast or become a blockbuster success. A large number of customers, large amount of revenue, large number of employees. Maybe it happens third time. But do you think as Indians, as parents, as teachers, as friends, okay, are we ready to accept failures among ourselves? Do you think yes or no? And if as usual you can put yes dash why you think we are ready to accept failure, or you can say no, we are not ready to accept failure, and after no you can say dash, and you can tell in one or two words why you think no. So either yes or no, and after that it's short, one or two words. Reason of why you think yes or no will also be valuable. Hiranmayji, again,
Yeah, Bandhan,
back to you.
Bandhan said it is perfectly okay. Others says that failure is part of life, part of science, part of technology.
Okay.
So failure is not a problem. Somebody is saying that public systems should appreciate that not every time we will succeed. If somebody try hard and fail, they should not be abused. Somebody has written. Somebody is saying it is good, but somebody should take note of these failure things and keep improving. So almost all. I didn't say no by now.
Wow, this is I'm surprised. I think that is part of the reason why Gujaratis are successful anyway.
Yeah.
I'm very happy. So are all the people participants from Gujarat only, or your outsiders also?
No, it's through Pan India, sir.
Pan India. Wow. Okay, so I was thinking it is mostly Gujarat, but then it's really wonderful to see so many people saying yes, we are ready to accept failures. In fact, I can tell you this that many parents, I would say even 5 years back, if a child says that after my BTech or BE or whatever, or even BSc or MSc, I want to take 1 year off, I want to do something like that, they are not ready to accept that.
Yes.
But now I'm seeing more and more parents saying that ek saal kar lo, if you're successful, theek hai, chale, great. If it's not successful also, we are okay with 1 year. So I think parents also are now slowly accepting that it is okay for the kids to try 1 year off and it doesn't matter anymore. So I think the acceptability is good. So great. So thank you for that reflection point. And now we're ready for a story now. And so this story, before I tell the story, let me share one screen with you. These are the products which were developed by people from all over the country, literally all over the country. I have people from remote Orissa, remote Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Kerala, Uttarakhand, Maharashtra, of course. So people have come from all over the country through those hackathon and the camp I mentioned to you earlier. And these people have developed these products which you see on the screen. Glaucoma screening, endotracheal block detector. Ventilator which you see, ventilator goes in the throat, and in the throat if there's a blockage, this machine is for detecting the blockage. And then smart stethoscope, which story I'll tell you in more detail right now after this. Then biopsy gun, diabetic foot. Those who are diabetes, 10% of them will have a diabetic foot problem, and this one is to detect that. Club foot is for babies who have deformed feet, to correct the feet there. On the right side, you will see some surgical instruments. You also see some rehabilitation bottom, foot orthosis, prosthetic leg and all that. You also see a hybrid splint for fractures, a spray gun for burns, those are third-degree burns. Unke liye spray gun hai. So all these which you see, if you notice, some are red, some are blue. So those which are red are the startup companies. Okay, the students have incubated their own startup companies. Many of them are in the incubator of IIT Bombay itself. Some of them are in Pune, Nagpur, and other places. And the blue ones are the Indian companies. All of them are very small companies, but Indian existing companies who have licensed the technology, and they are now going into mass production. And also, in case you are able to see on your screen, a green star. Those who are having maybe seeing on mobile phones, maybe you cannot see a green star. But the first, second, third on the left side, first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and the bottom, top one, bottom from right side also you can see 5, 6. All the green stars are those who got the BIG award, Biotechnology Ignition Grant of 50 lakh rupees each. Okay, and 50 lakh rupees goes directly. The check goes in the name of the startup company which takes the product forward. So this is a great award, but that is not the only award. There are many awards. I just showed you one award, and we won this about 12 times. So 12 into 50 lakh, 6 crores just in awards, and that goes a long way for the company to start off. So now let me share with the story about the smart stethoscope. So this story actually has 3 people. One person is from Dehradun, Uttarakhand, from north. His name is Tapas Pandey. I'll show his picture in the next slide. And Tapas Pandey was an electronics engineer from Dehradun. He was working in Intel Hyderabad at that point when the story starts. The second person from down south, Koppa, is actually a rural, let's say small town or a big village in Karnataka, very close to Sringeri. If you heard about Sringeri, Adi Shankaracharya. And the third one is a doctor from a rural hospital in Maharashtra, the midpoint of Bombay and Goa, that village rural hospital. So here are the pictures. So the person with the mic on the left picture, he is the doctor from rural hospital. His name is Nambiraj, Dr. Nambiraj. So Nambiraj says that in a rural hospital, when some patient comes and he puts the stethoscope around his, this is the stethoscope which you're talking about. I'll show you a little later. So when he put the stethoscope on the patient's chest and is trying to hear the sounds of the patient, and supposing he hears something new for the first time, rural doctors don't get too many different patients, right? Limited number of patients, so the experience is limited, and most of them are actually young doctors. So when he hears a sound which he has never heard before in his life, he has a doubt. Is this critical or not critical? Should I send the patient in a bus to the city hospital for a second checkup, or it is not critical? How does he solve that problem? Is what he's saying in that meeting. And immediately people sitting next to him, they are a team. The one in the white shirt is Tapas Pandey from Dehradun, electronics engineer. And the person sitting next to him in that striped t-shirt is Adarsha from the South Karnataka. He's an electrical and software engineer from L&T. So they all got together, and when the doctor posed the problem, and the doctor also said concept, he said, is it possible that instead of the patient traveling to the city, can the sound travel in some way, either real time, immediately, or record the sound and send the sound through some attachment as an email, something like that, or a WhatsApp. So that idea was given in 2015 September by the doctor. Immediately in the next 4 or 5 days, this team actually built a proof of concept of something where you could record the sound and you could send it through a laptop, through an internet to a expert doctor in a city. The picture which you see are those they are actually building the software and hardware and things like that. But remember, they're all working professionals. So doctor goes back to his hospital, Tapas goes back to his company, and Adarsha also goes back to his company. And but after 6 months, they all call me and say that, sir, maja nahi aa raha life mein. We want to somehow take the innovation further. And I'm waiting for the phone call. So in January 2016, they all came, both Tapas and Adarsha came. The doctor, of course, was in hospital. They came back, they left their jobs, they came to IIT. I gave them a small, and they all took salary cuts. At half salary, they're coming, remember that, okay? And I put them in touch with the doctors in Bombay. You can see Dr. Lancelot Pinto from Hinduja Hospital here, who became their mentor. They also went to other hospitals, Fortis Hospital in Bombay, BJ Medical and other, David Sassoon Hospital in Pune. Many hospitals actually went and saw how doctors use stethoscopes in different situations. Government hospitals, private hospitals, poor patients, rich patients, everything they studied weeks and months. They went and saw what is happening in hospitals. And then they started building their prototype. The first picture which you see is what they built in 4 days in that camp, Medical Device Innovation Camp. But it took them almost one whole year, January to October, November, December of 2016, to build a prototype. Now, prototype is a prototype. It's not a sellable product yet. The buttons which you see are just stickers. They are not actual buttons. But it gives the doctors an idea about how it will look like, how it may function, and so on. And it works. It can store sound and all that, but you can't increase the sound. That is what I said. Button doesn't work. But basics of recording the sound and playing back the sound, or storing it in a mobile phone and doing that, they're able to demonstrate. A doctor said it's very interesting. We would like to have this. Okay. And doctors are also very happy that this doesn't have a headphone. What doctors say is that, Hiranmaji, are you able to see my screen also, right? I mean, you're able to see me also, right?
Okay.
Yeah, so you can see the stethoscope in my neck.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So I hope everyone can see that. Doctor said that these are identity. Our identity. Don't take it away from us. If you put this and put a headphone, and patient comes in my room and sees doctor on a headphone, they can start getting worried about it. So they don't want that. So these things are very important to know, because many people are developing headphone-based stethoscopes and doctors don't like it. And we realize that
So you are saying, Professor, the behavioral aspect, the sociological aspect is also equally important than technology.
Equally, absolutely equally important for them. Otherwise, we are just sitting in our labs and doing technology which no one wants to use, because you do not know what the customer exactly wants. But remember, going from prototype to product, which is the third value of that, it took them one whole year again. And that's not easy, because we're actually going to industry for injection molding and for PCB making, fellow to make PCBs. It takes time to go back and forth until. And parallelly, they also built a software application. So they built a mobile app where the doctors can record the sound, visualize the sound, put down the patient details. So it becomes part of the electronic health record, which by itself is a very valuable thing. And now the company is building analytics. Because as the doctors are collecting and storing the sound, and they're saying this patient has asthma or this person has a heart problem, now the software can start recognizing that automatically and give the doctor. We don't want to give it to patient because then becomes legal issue. But doctor can start looking at getting a double check or analyzing the results of his own diagnosis. So it's a very valuable additional support to the doctors. Okay, so these people also applied for the BIG grant, and end of the year 2017 they got a 50 lakh rupee award. Of course, they also filed a patent, and they got and once you file a patent, your rights will start. And they licensed the patent to themselves in IIT Bombay. And within 1 year, they had almost 18 people working in the company. As you can see, Adarsh on the right side, Tapas on the front, on the left side front. And this company called Ayu Devices was incorporated, and now they have a big team working throughout. And of course, the very first order, and I'm very, very happy why iHub is doing this session, was from Bhavnagar. So we had a district development officer from Bhavnagar who said that come and demonstrate that to our local primary healthcare doctors. And Adarsha, which you see on the picture on the left side, he gave a demo at I think 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning, and by 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock, the officer gave a purchase order of 10 stethoscopes. Can you imagine the power that government people have in their hands? Demo to order less than 10 hours. And that was the very first order which actually helped the company to break through, and they were very happy. They went back to Bhavnagar again and again to see that the device is actually being used properly and how doctors are using that. A lot of feedback they got from that, and that was so useful that every year now they do a health camp. So 2018 they did a health camp in North Maharashtra, place called Shegaon, and then they did a health camp last year December in a place very close to Nagpur, eastern Maharashtra, almost close to Andhra Pradesh, called Chandrapur. So every year we do health camps because hundreds of rural patients come, and it's important to know firsthand what are the problems of the rural people. And rural people in Maharashtra are different from rural people in Gujarat, are different from Ladakh. We also went to Ladakh rural camp, and that's totally different experience altogether. So you got to learn and see the firsthand, and not from second hand from someone else. And of course, they also got many other awards apart from the BIG award of 50 lakh. They got this India Innovation Growth Program, which is 25 lakh rupees. There was a Swiss Next award in Switzerland, which was 10 lakh rupees. They got also the Gujarat Startup Summit Award, Maharashtra Startup Summit Award, and these two awards, Gujarat and Maharashtra, came with additional purchase orders. I think 100 each, something like that. So now they have they got into newspapers. So this happened. As these guys started winning awards after awards, they got a lot of newspaper coverage. So Business Outlook, Business, even Forbes magazine, you can see that. Okay, and all mainstream papers. Now press coverage is useful for multiple reasons, and of course, as teachers, we'd like to avoid being in the news because it creates its own problems. But innovators being in the news is great because they get recognition, they get motivation, they get, of course, customers and orders and things like that. So it builds the brand building of the company also very well. And today, this company has now customers all over the country. They have more than 1,000 orders fulfilled, I think, and many of these are actually primary healthcare centers in rural areas. I think they recently got one award from UP also, Karnataka. Many companies are telemedicine companies, which means that they are connecting patients in rural areas to doctors in cities and so on. So I'm personally very happy the way the company is making a difference. And in the COVID situation, they came with another innovation. They joined hands with one more company. They came with something called as a smart COVID booth. So as you can see on the booth, you can see pulse oximeter, digital stethoscope, and infrared thermometer. So doctor is inside, but outside also, hand side. The doctor is safe, patient is safe, and the doctor has one. So you can see stethoscope also hanging from the first hook. Second hook is the thermometer. Third hook is the, I think maybe the pulse oximeter, something like that. So doctor can actually put the stethoscope on the patient's chest without infecting himself. So this became a major thing, and these booths are now coming up in several places in Bombay now. So this is making a difference, and I hope you like the story of this smart stethoscope IO devices team. How these boys, two boys, one from North India, one from South India, one from rural Maharashtra, joined hands and then created a solution. Took the idea all the way to invention to innovation to actually impaction. And a few days back, Adarsh actually called me and said that he is so happy that he took the decision to actually resign from his company. Very good company, good paying job, good salary. He took a risk in his life by resigning from that thing and then coming out and doing that. But he said, today I'm so happy and content that I'm making a difference. Of course, it's good business. He's earning very well. His company is earning very well. He's earning for not only himself, but also for another 15, 20 people, his employees. They're all very happy making a difference. But that kind of a thing starts from the basic idea that someone wants to make a difference. So I hope the story was interesting and useful to you. And we come to the fourth part completed. And I would like to ask one question, and especially this question, especially for those who are in small towns and villages and so on. I would like to ask you, teachers, students, do you really think that rural youth, and by rural I mean also small town people here, do you think small town people and or village people, rural people have any advantage over city youth? Okay. If you say yes, please also write what is the advantage that they have got. And if you think they don't have an advantage, also say why you think they don't have an advantage. And Hiranmaji, this is a very important question, and I would like to, I don't mind even pausing for 2 minutes for as many people to reply, and you can just quickly look at that and see how many people have said yes and why they said yes or why they said no. Equally important.
So, Professor, you saying advantage in terms of innovation?
Yes, I'm sorry. So in terms of innovation and entrepreneurship, both innovation and entrepreneurship, do you think rural youth have any advantage? Yes.
Okay. ग्रामीण इलाका में जो लोग हैं उनको एडवांटेज मिल सकता है क्या किसी एरिया में
इनोवेशन करने के लिए और बिजनेस या और स्टार्टअप you can say startup करने के लिए
I can see few yes. Somebody is saying that the people in the rural areas are more close to the problems, understand it better.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. I'm so glad someone has said that. That's really the most important advantage. City people cannot solve rural problems. And if you see problems where there's a large numbers will get benefited, even the large number of customers and large impact, it is in the rural areas. 80, 70%, 60, 70, 80% are in small town and rural areas. Okay, and who can solve the problems better than the people there itself? Okay, maybe they don't have communication skills, maybe they don't have access to money, but those we can empower them through that. But problems, knowing the problems firsthand and solving and knowing which solution works better, no one else can do better than the people who are in those places. So absolutely right. Whoever said that deserves hats off.
One faculty member says that they might have lesser resources, but they are more exposed.
Yes.
And somebody says that language and others are barrier, but they can ideate, they can simulate.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, let me tell you that I showed you one slide where I had shown some 16, 20 products from our lab, right?
Right.
And let me tell a secret at this point of time. 90% of those ideas and companies, startup companies, were done from non-IIT Bombay students. They're all people from small towns. I told you from all over the country. Okay, and many of them don't have NIT. They're all very normal colleges. But I think people who know the problems, commitment to create the solution and take the solution all the way, I think no one can beat those small town and rural area, because the problem is there, so they want to solve the problem. So the passion and commitment is unmatched from those people. So that's other reason why it doesn't matter whether they have communication skills, doesn't matter whether they have access to resources and funds and all that. All that can be managed, because people like your iHub and many incubation centers, they're actually looking for people like that, passionate people like that. So just go and talk to them, and I'm sure they're all going to help you there.
I can see an interesting Professor Shreyas Bhatt from North Gujarat. He says that they are accustomed to scarcity, so they can be frugal innovators.
Absolutely right. I'm so happy again. Yes, absolutely right. We are getting very good audience, Jesse. I'm so happy.
Yeah, I can. To your question, I got 1247 answers in 2 minutes. Wow.
Fantastic. That is great. I think we have a lot of hope for India now. I think China or no China, I think we can do that. All right. So let me go to the last part now, and this part is meant for all those who want to build the ecosystem. And I'm just going to give 3-4 more formula, which I have. It took me like 20-30 years to understand, and also put in a format that I can even understand in 2 minutes. Sometimes it took me 2-3 years, 5 years to understand how do we do that, how do we streamline, how do we scale up and things like that. But I'm going to put it in 2-3 slides for you. So let me start with this thing, and I'll repeat what I said earlier. The most important thing is to bring people together, and these are our happy pictures. Why I say happy pictures is because every slide has at least one engineer, one doctor, and in some cases you have one patient also. You can see one baby in the second row. Okay, that is the baby with the club foot. Okay, problem, and the device that we helped in inventing or improving that. And these pictures give us our motivation, our energy, because we know that we are making a difference to society through these affordable medical devices. So let me start with this, the best practices. The first thing, of course, is mindset. They say that all battles start in the mind, and I'm talking about good battles in life. Okay, and this mindset has the DNA, if you say DNA of the innovation mindset, has 4 strands. The first strand is a people strand. The people strand, I mean the end user, in this case, doctor, or otherwise you can say farmer. But then you have investor. The second strand is a people, doctor in hospital, researcher in institute, entrepreneur in incubator, investor in industry, and so on. Then you have the process, which you have already discussed: define, develop, deliver, and deploy. That is one strand, and the purpose of that activity. So doctor in a hospital helps in defining the concept. Researcher in institute helps in or develops the prototype or solution. The entrepreneur in incubator can deliver and test the product. And finally, investor helps or enables in deploying the product into final usage. So I call it as the ideation, invention, innovation, and impaction axis. This one slide actually captures the entire landscape of what you have to do as an institution. And please, most teachers here will think that ये तो बड़ा अच्छा है, I want to do it, but my principal does not allow me to do that. My teachers, my colleagues are happily enjoying life. Why should I take trouble and all that? Of course, you can discuss, you can say like that, and you can do nothing. But end of the day, when you are going to be in your 80s and 90s or 100 years, your final years of life, you will ask yourself, did I do something which others did not do? Am I happy about my life? And if you, at least if you don't even try doing something like this, you will die unhappy person. At least you will die with a regret. I would rather die thinking I tried something very difficult, I failed, doesn't matter, but I tried. Doesn't matter whether you failed or not. You have at least got to try, irrespective of whether your friends, your family, your colleagues, your superiors support you or not, because you are doing it with a purpose of something meaningful society. When you're doing something good, don't worry about what other people think about it. So the mindset is the first step in the whole game. The second thing is, once you are clear about mindset, you have to create some resources. The first resource, of course, is physical resource, equipment. You need equipment for, you need a small room, you need some 3D printing machine, some CAD, some computer, some basic testing machine. This is not expensive. Most engineering colleges already have these things. You just have to start using them in some way for innovation entrepreneurship. And of course, these incubation centers already have some of those facilities. The next thing which many people miss out is procedures. What happens is, every time a new batch of students come or a new entrepreneur comes, again you have to train them saying, "ये 3D printing ऐसा काम करता है, इसको ऐसा testing करो." How many times are you going to explain to them? Create what is called as a standard operating procedure. SOP बोलते हैं, right? Have you heard the word SOP? Operating procedures. Standardize that. Make documents out of that. Just someone give it to them. If you have a SOP, your training becomes easy, your quality becomes better, your efficiency improves. You can explain the things better to other people. You can use your time a little better. So document your processes, standardize the best practices. Create those forms and records and things like that. It's a great way forward, and many people do not want to spend time doing that. It takes time, but once you do that, it's like sharpening the saw. एक बार saw sharpen हो गया, you can cut more trees. The third, the people is very important, and I've been telling again and again that you got to get people who are. Give me a second. Sorry. You got to have people of different types of backgrounds, and not just let us say engineers and faculty and industry, or engineers and doctors. Not just that. Get artists, get tailors, get jokers, get poets, get architects. The more variety of people that come to your place and you discuss with them and explain to them what they're doing, and listen to what they're saying, how they're reacting, you get more rich feedback, more ideas to pursue. Because innovation and creativity is all about new ideas. Create more ideas, you have better chance of doing something new or different. The last one is the culture or the mindset again. The culture is of collaboration you have to build in. So different faculty from different disciplines. Is a mechanical faculty talking to science faculty, talking to humanities faculty, talking to management faculty. You have to get them to talk to each other. That is how collaboration happens. If you have your BTech projects, MTech projects, try to see whether you can have 2 guides or 4 guides from different departments. Okay, multi-department guides. You have multiple students, even students. Can you have a project in which you have 1 student from mechanical, 1 electronical, 1 let us say computer science, 1 maybe something else, and also faculty also. 4 students, 4 faculty, 4 guides. Try it out. If it works, great. And don't try only 1. If it fails, you stop it. Try 10, 20, improve the procedures, and see if something comes out of that. Because collaboration, domain immersion leads to commercialization, and accepting failures. Once again, I tell you, many things will fail, but from failures you will learn something, improve the process again, and again keep on doing that. And all this is possible only if you have the end user in mind. You have got to think that you're not working for yourself or your institution or a government. You're working for the end customer. It could be the patient in a hospital, or the poor farmer whose income you want to double or triple, or anyone else, or sanitation worker who you want to give more dignity. Think about the end user for whom you are solving a problem, and that you keep at the center of your thing. You build all the other things, infrastructure and operating procedures and teams and mentors and innovation culture. Build all these things keeping the end user in mind, and then you will get fantastic results. The third, of course, is that you have to have a process of commercializing whatever ideas you do. So one of the things which people do not do is to create what is called as a product dossier. Dossier simply means a file, big fat thick file where you have everything noted down. The first meeting with the farmer or a doctor or whatever it is, and what you observe, what you noted down, write it down. Okay, your initial concepts, initial sketches, your initial CAD models and drawings, your bill of materials, your testing in the lab, testing in the field, all those things, manufacturing process steps. Now, all these things you just write it, type it, put it in a file. That file becomes your great document for licensing. People say we are not getting licensing for industry, but what are you showing them? You show them this file and a prototype. I guarantee you that someone will come and take your product. And of course, your IPR patents have to file, and you'll of course hear about it in great detail in the next few days. But filing is done usually by the institution or organization. You have to name all the inventors who have contributed to the thing. You also have what is called as a revenue sharing form. How do you share the licensing fee or royalty between the inventors? What proportion and all that? All that agreements also have to be signed, and I hope we are going to discuss that also. And finally, who do you license it to? You can license it to the startup incubated by the researcher or student himself or herself, or to industry partner, or to some NGO. You can find your own ways of commercializing or licensing that. But this also has to be put in place by every institution. You should have the rules, regulations, forms, templates for doing all those things very smoothly. And you can always go to established institutions. If you are sitting in Assam, go to IIT Guwahati. North, you go to IIT Delhi. Most of the IITs and NITs also have the systems in place. We are only too happy to share our processes with in case you want to establish. You can simply copy the processes of IIT or NIT and start there. And of course, you can improve it based upon what you feel better for. Right. I hope you heard the story of IU devices, stethoscope, other shantapas, but that is one of the stories of 60 stories which I wrote in this book called Essence of Medical Devices. We'll also try to put a soft copy or a PDF version on the net. And also remember I told you about SOP, standard operating procedure. If you can somehow get an ISO 9000, or this is what you see is ISO 13485. This is ISO 9000 for medical devices. Our lab has an ISO certification from the international agency, which means that when you do a licensing to industry or a startup, the acceptability or credibility of the innovation is already several times higher. And of course, have partners. So in our case, we have so many engineering college partners. We have so many medical institute partners. We also have partnering with the Maharashtra government, with the Gujarat government through GTU and iHub and all those places. Also Andhra Pradesh government, Rajasthan government. Now we have something from Uttarakhand coming up, Chennai, Tamil Nadu coming up, Kannada coming up. So we are sharing whatever we are doing with whoever wants to know about it. We have no secrets here because we want the entire country to come up fast, very fast in innovation and entrepreneurship domain. And I would also recommend that try to share the stories with the press. There's a lot of negative news in the news all the time, but these happy stories also are equally important. We need to talk to the journalists. We have to make friendships with newspaper people, journalists, and tell them that, hey, this is a great news, maybe put it. See, journalists also will listen to you if they know that you are doing it, not because you want name or a fame or a money. So I always tell the journalists, don't put my name, and I'm fine with that. Talk about the company or the startup or the innovator. Talk about that. Talk about the lab. Don't put my name at all. Then they realize that okay, this professor is not selfish, or doesn't want anything for them. So if you set up a good equation with those press people and journalists, they also understand that okay, you are doing it not for self-interest, for national interest. Then they will put the news in the right way. And so I'll kind of conclude with a final thing saying that if you really want to have right results, whether you want to be successful entrepreneur or a successful teacher or create a successful product or technology, the right results come from right action. You can't just dream about it. The concepts are great in the mind, but you finally want to see it in real life. So right results come from actually doing something, right action. Right action comes from right vision, because you can't be getting your action right unless your thinking process vision is right. And right vision comes from right intentions. If your intentions are right, your vision will be right. If vision is right, your actions will be right. If these three are right, you do not have to worry about the results. If results are good, fine. The results are not so good. It is still fine. Website name. You can also go to the Wikipedia website, or if you want to connect with me, I won't be able to respond on email. I'm not able to manage my email anymore. But you can send a LinkedIn to me, and I request all the teachers here. LinkedIn is a great way to connect with all professionals. Okay, so if you do not have a LinkedIn profile, create a good profile. Keep your stuff, and you can see my LinkedIn profile on the right side of the thing. And once you create your own LinkedIn profile, you can send me an invitation. I'll accept that. But you have to have something interesting in your LinkedIn profile. I will not accept unless you have done something good in life. Okay. So with this, I will stop, and we come to the end of this session, and I'll just leave with the last reflection point. And please type out what is your key insight. What did you learn from this session? What was the most interesting thing that is also useful to you in your life? Okay. You can write one line or two lines. And again, I'll now maybe stop the screen sharing, and I'll get on to my other thing. But I hope you see the question here very clearly. What was most interesting in this session, today's session, which you think is also useful to you, and maybe you will even practice or implement that in your life? So tell me that in one or two lines.
Professor, quickly I can see more than 100 comments, excellent presentation, very informative. We got ideas, we got to know about processes. So these are many comments I can quickly see. Somebody is saying that he learned, you endorsed that failure is not bad and he will pursue that. Good, you have given them motivation. Somebody is saying, Professor, your advice of first filing patent and then publishing is useful. Are you able to hear, Professor Ravi?
Yes, I'm able to see the comments on my screen.
Yeah. Current patent, somebody is saying, Dr. Joshi, Krishna Joshi from Marwar University is saying, you talked about biomedical domain. Can you also state
Sorry, I missed that.
Professor,
okay, so for my side session is over. So in case anyone wants to actually specific questions, we can take that. I think as per your time schedule, we still have about 10-15 minutes.
Yeah. So, Professor, I will create some questions. Will that be fine?
Yes, you can do that.
Wonderful. So, I'm looking at the question. So one question I can see is, in your presentation, collaboration was a very meaningful tool that you presented. Healthcare professionals, engineers, doctors, and all. How do we take steps for more such collaborative efforts? Because typically engineers don't go to others. The liberal arts never work into other campuses. So how do you promote more collaboration?
So it starts from the hackathons. So what we do is, in hackathon, when we organize, let's say if it's a medical hackathon, I take 60 participants. Out of 60 participants, when the race, I say I will only choose the top 15 doctors, top 15 mechanical engineers, top 15 let's say creative people, design people, and top 15 electronic software people. And how do I know the top people? I ask them for biodata and also portfolio of the projects. And I take an interview saying that, why do you want to attend the workshop? If people say, I want to attend the workshop because I'm passionate, I want to solve the problems. So I can see from the energy level in the interviews, right? So we do not do hackathons open to everyone. We select people who come to hackathon. And remember, I took 15 of each. So every team will have one doctor, one designer, one mechanical, one electronics / software people. And I tell them, you cannot be from the same organization. Every team must have diversity. You must be from different discipline, different state, different age, different qualification, degree. Sometimes I have one BTech guy and one PhD guy in the same team. So the age difference, different mother tongue. So the more diversity is there, I find better. So you can build those things through the hackathons. Number one. Number two, I also mentioned in passing that nothing stops colleges when they do the BTech project or MTech project or even some kind of a non-credit project. They can always float that. That freedom, that much freedom is there in many institutions. You do projects where you encourage students to form teams from different departments and also encourage faculty from different departments to lead the teams. Only make sure that teachers don't come in the way of innovation. So many times teachers come in the way of innovation. Sometimes the teachers don't come in the way. Let the students innovate and you get out of the way. They'll do a good job anyway.
Wonderful. Professor, one participant says that I love the traditional belief of Indian culture of Lakshmi and Saraswati and your interpretation of how Shakti can combine that in academia. So it's a good analogy that everybody liked. One person told about this stethoscope story is quite inspiring because so many of stakeholders participated and the entire value chain was covered so nicely. That was very important. And one comment from Arpita says that through story you explain the pedagogy, and that was important. The steps that you take, the 16-month steps that you take from finding a problem to going to market, that is very important many times, and it just can't happen by one Bharose, right? It can be more scientific. It has to be a pedagogy, and that's one of the important things.
One question I want to take here. There is one question about Jugaad, and let me clarify. It's a very important question actually from Mandan Kamlakar Gundale. See, we think that we all can do Jugaad, but Jugaad is only a one-time solution for an existing problem, which is only using local resources. It is very difficult to scale up Jugaad. Remember that. So Jugaad is not the same as systematic innovation. Jugaad is good for creating initial ideas, yes, but Jugaad cannot be scaled up easily. So please do not look at Jugaad as the only way to do innovation. It's a starting point, not an ending point. I mean, I can give a longer answer, but please keep Jugaad in its own place. Jugaad is, you can't give a Jugaad solution to customers in Africa and USA and all that. Maybe Jugaad solution works only in that place. It may not work worldwide. It cannot. Jugaad is difficult to scale up. Is one line answer to that. Yeah, but you have other.
Yeah, Kiran Singh is saying that one of the interesting things that we learned today is having problem is not a problem. It is a way to innovation.
Yeah, of course. Yes. Yes. So actually, COVID now has given us so many problems about all the solutions. And thanks to now the China being blocked, okay, we actually have a golden opportunity. China being blocked, pandemic now has, government support is there. This is perhaps the best time for innovators to think. And in the next 2-3 months, you create your ideas, do prototyping, be ready to roll out in the next 5-6 months, early next year. Golden chance in my opinion. All teachers, all students should really look at this and go. Yeah, but please go ahead.
Nikhil Joshi is asking, what is the ideal time between scouting a problem and taking the product to market for a manufacturing innovation?
It depends on, of course, the complexity of the product. But see, if the product is very simple, people will copy it very easily. The product is very complex. It takes you maybe 5-10 years, by which time technology changes. So you pick a product which is medium complexity, can be done using a combination of techniques which is not easy to copy. And these kind of things typically take about 2 years. I mean, if you're very smart, maybe you can do it in maybe less than 1 year. But typically it takes time from, I told you, idea to invention to testing it and then actually mass, initial batch, go to 50 customers, show them the product. It takes about a couple of years, 2 years at least.
Professor William Posey is Assistant Professor of Chemical Engineering at GEC Bhuj. He is asking how and in what form can a faculty be part of startups coming out of the research in college?
So many ways, and again it depends on the policy of the college there. There is now a startup innovation policy from the Ministry of Human Resource Development. Guidelines have been published last year, and all colleges are supposed to implement that. And that has great details about how faculty can be part of the whole thing. But I think from what you're asking, let me tell 2, 3 quick points. Faculty can be part of the patents. Definitely your student is developing with your help, so patent can carry your name. And when patent is commercialized, some revenue from the commercialization, the license fee, royalty can come to the faculty also. It goes to the institution, but institute can say 50% goes to institute, 50% to faculty, whatever it is. So some portion will come to the faculty also. Third thing is when a startup is created, faculty can, depending on the rules, can be part of the company also as shareholders. You're buying shares in all companies. You can buy a share in the stakeholder buy shares in the startup company by your student also. Of course, just inform your institute. Always do not do anything without informing institute. Always inform. Okay, and make sure there's no conflict of interest. So you should not use students should not use your lab facilities free of cost. So that is the conflict of interest. Instead of using the lab for your theory or coursework or your education thing, you can't use it for business. So you have to be very careful about are you following all the rules. But now government has really come up with rules by which faculty can be part of the invention and even the entrepreneurship. But go through the rules, have a discussion in your college with your principals. The document is there on MHRD website, or you can look for startup policy. And every state also is now creating their own state innovation policy for their own institution. So you can look at both MHRD guidelines and the state innovation policy, and both of them give you a lot of details about what to do, how to do.
Yes, Professor, I was a part of that committee of MHRD drafting framework, and it's a very exhaustive guideline. And Gujarat also has a very specific guideline for how faculty members can play a role and take benefit out of their innovation and startups. We have a special session in this series of IPR course, so we will be taking that. And secondly, faculties, it's not like that the faculty is only guide and they won't get benefit. They can also get a part of that Lakshmi also. So that's there. So Professor Prakash Lamba is asking, how do you scrutinize a problem to select to work on? Because many times there are a lot of problems we see. How do you prioritize?
I think there was one slide which I showed where I put 4 circles. I said problem must have enough market need. There should be enough people saying I need this desperately, and large number of people. Okay, larger the better it is. That is number 1 criteria. Number 2 criteria is that it has to have enough innovation potential. If you just improve something by 5%, 10%, that competitor will take your market out. He'll drop the price by 10%, you're out of market. So your thing must be 5 times, 10 times better, easier, or some feature which is not there. So it has to have innovation potential. It should be patentable, novelty, all those things. Third thing is it should be doable in 2-3 years time. If it takes 10 years, technology will change. So it should be possible to actually do it with your facilities and your connections, your equipment, things like that. And fourth is the team. If team is not there, you can't do anything. So you choose only those problems where all the 4 requirements are satisfied. I showed one slide where I said I have 400 problems I had picked up, but only 200 went ahead because some criteria was they were satisfied initially. So only 200 got satisfied, but finally when you saw only 20 got commercialized, 400 problems, only 20 got commercialized, which means only 5% got commercialized. 95% failed. Why? Because some criteria got dropped off as you move ahead. So these 4 if you keep, and of course you can have your own set of rules saying I will do a project only when it satisfies these 4 or 5 criteria. But those 4 are a good starting point.
Professor Swagat Bharat, Dr. Swagat Bharat from Government Polytechnic Valsad is asking, can faculties from humanities and mathematics and others can also play a role in the innovation cycles?
Absolutely, and I'll tell you, yesterday also there was a discussion saying that humanities and social science and also management, I'll put all the 3, because all 3, is the line still on, Hiranmaji? I'm seeing some change of screen, so I'm audible.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
So these humanities, social science, and management people, because they deal with people and society in general, okay, their role in defining the problems and making sure problems are well structured or well meaningful or will have impact is now become even more critical, and people are realizing that. There are now IIT Bombay students and IIT students in general who are now saying, who have become entrepreneurs, saying, my goodness, the value of social science people I am now realizing, and I'm finding handicapped because I do not have sufficient knowledge about humanities and social sciences in management aspects. So please, all of the social sciences people, uh, humanities people, part of the discussion about, especially when the problem is being defined and being intermediate feedback when it is being tested, and the final testing when it is actually going to be implemented. Your role is critical in all the parts of that. And when you said mathematics, it is specific. Tell me, people say that finally when you bring it down all the sciences to one point, it is mathematics. So the other question is that where mathematics is not required, show me. It's everywhere. But they have to be interested in trying to be part of the groups which want to make an impact. So I would say get them in the room and they will figure out how they can contribute. In healthcare, for example, biostatistics is a very, very important area which has come up now. Biostatistics, that is mathematics for healthcare. Just one domain I told you, but with thanks to this, all this artificial intelligence, machine learning, deep learning, mathematics is blockchain, all these things, mathematics is becoming even more important these days. You know, the best mathematician actually go to stock market. I think you know that.
Wonderful. Kamlesh Patel says intent plus vision plus action plus result is what you demonstrated today through your talk and the work that you have been doing. Professor, one question that I can see, question from suggestion says that can even undergraduate level project be multidisciplinary and get some good result?
That is what I'm trying to hint multiple times, because large number of students, our real manpower actually is undergraduate. So all the teachers out there, I request you, if you can formally create systems that in case the final year project is done by 4 students, see if you can make the 4 students of 4 different departments. Just try it out. If it's not possible in a legal way, or because your curriculum or structure doesn't allow that, create some kind of a non-credit course. Tell students that, okay, in the summer vacation, different students get together and do a project. It is like off the record or non-academic work, but just try some experiments. And even the guides must be from different departments. And guides should not come in the way of students. If a student want to do something difficult or dangerous, let them do it. But dangerous, I mean, it shouldn't be physically dangerous, okay? But if it's likely to fail, let them still do it.
Professor Ravi, we have explicitly allowed this thing under the Student Startup and Innovation Policy of Government of Gujarat. Students from any institute, from any year, from any discipline can collaborate. Even this time in the Open Innovation Challenge mode, we have allowed them to collaborate with any other universities in India and even abroad. So in that sense, it is quite open and they can literally collaborate and take it forward.
Right.
Sir, one question I can see from Dr. Jignesh, he says that इतना सारा सक्सेस स्टोरी बनाया है तो कभी फेलियर स्टोरी भी हुआ होगा आपकी कोशिश में?
नहीं बताया ना मैंने. I put now 400 starting point, 400 ideas, unmet needs. तो उससे 20 निकला ना बाहर में, तो मतलब 95% is failure only, no? Of course.
When that failure graph, जब स्टूडेंट्स की मोटिवेशन थोड़ा डाउन होता होगा लैब में, कैसे इंस्पायर करते हैं आप?
हाँ. No, that is very important. So that's a good question. So sometimes we actually celebrate that. So we bring a cake, saying that there's some failure happened. In spite of all the documentation, all the systems in place, everyone putting their head, still something failed. We bring a cake, cut a cake, and saying, let us now sit around the cake and discuss कि failure हुआ क्यों? उसे हम क्या सीख सकते हैं? What is our, because failure मतलब क्या? Some money is lost, no? Money, time, effort is lost, no? मतलब investment किया हमने, failure मतलब I have invested in creating a failure, no? No, मुझे पैसा वसूल चाहिए. What पैसा वसूल I can get from failure is experience. Learning, team meeting, saying, okay, now what do we learn from that? How do we prevent that from happening? What is not accepted is the same failure happening in the same way again. That is not accepted. But a new failure in a new way, yes, it is great because it teaches you so many things. So failures are to be celebrated. Failures are the key to success. Failures are the stepping stone to success. Failures are essential for success, I would say, even. You can't succeed. If you succeed without failure, that means you're doing something very ordinary.
Wonderful. In fact, rightly you mentioned problems are not problems, they're opportunity. failures are not to be tabooed; it needs to be celebrated. So I think that's the way we build the ecosystem. Dr. Kunal Bhatt is asking, जब आप प्रोडक्ट बना लेते हैं लार्ज स्केल में, एक दो प्रोडक्ट टेस्ट हो जाता है, स्केलिंग के लिए क्या करते हैं, उसको मार्केट पे स्केल करने के लिए क्या प्रयास करते हैं?
सो स्केलिंग बहुत मुश्किल है इंडिया में, बिकॉज स्पेशली मेडिकल में बहुत ही मुश्किल है. बिकॉज इमेजिन एक डॉक्टर के पास में एक मेड इन जर्मनी डिवाइस है 1 लाख का, मेड इन इंडिया डिवाइस है 10,000 का और 20,000 का. तो पहले बोलेगा कि ये 20,000 का है, मतलब चीप है, मतलब चीप ही होगा. So when people ask what is the price of your stethoscope, we never tell the price. We tell them you try it out. You look at the features, look at the quality, look at the box in which we package the stethoscope. The box इतना खूबसूरत है. बॉक्स में लोगो, बॉक्स में पैकेजिंग, उसके अंदर जो स्पॉन्ज है, उसके जो इंस्ट्रक्शन मैनुअल है, we made it so beautiful. The moment you open the box, it's like an iPhone का box. Okay, so you have to show quality every step. You show the new features, you show the functionality, value, utility, and last में जब डॉक्टर खुश हो गया, बड़ा अच्छा है, तो मैं देने वाला हूँ, मैं चेक साइन करने वाला हूँ, अब बताओ प्राइस कितना है. Then tell the price, he falls off the chair because he imagines the price will be some n times, and you're giving it a, like you go to a 5-star hotel and you give a bill of a dhaba ka bill. Imagine the happiness of the person. So you have to look at many ways to make the customer happy in India. So we do things in a systematic way. That is number one. You publish, you patent, you create a good business, you create a good brand, you dress well, speak well. Every aspect of your company has high quality. Okay, your website should look very beautiful, professionally made. Your brochure should be good. The way you talk to them should be very good. Every aspect of the thing has to be quality, quality, quality all the way. Then and you also create branding through publication, through press, media, YouTube. Good doctors will tell you that, okay, this, or good customers will say, yeah, the product is good. You have to do a lot of those things which Americans and Western people know how the game of marketing. It is not enough to how to motivate students. You have to catch hold of students who are already self-motivated, those who are fire in the belly. See, I mean, out of 100 students, there must be at least 1-2 students who are very interested in doing something. You catch hold of them, empower them, create a success story. And next year you will have maybe 5 students who want to do that. Year after that you will have 10 students who want to do that. But it will never be more than 20% students. 80% students will still want to do regular jobs, and these 20% students will employ them, which is fine. Especially the last benchers will employ the first benchers. That also happens.
Professor, are you able to hear us?
I'm able to hear you, but was there someone else? I don't know.
Yeah, I just want to take one question. I can see interesting question from a student. Harsraj पूछ रहे हैं, आपने इतना कुछ कर लिया, what is your next mission?
My mission is to actually, good question, thank you. I have now realized that if I spend another 10 years of my life, maybe we'll create another 10 products, which is not bad. But I would rather that I would work with teachers who are in empowering teachers. If I create a teacher who can empower students, each teacher can create maybe 10, 15, so that the multiplication, geometric progression can happen. So I would rather work and help and motivate teachers to become force multipliers. Teachers are force multipliers. If you can create 100 teachers, 1,000 teachers who can create empower students, I think the entire country can progress. So I would be very happy to work with institutions and teachers like that. But teachers who are committed to the whole game. I mean, don't come to me just to get a certificate or an email or a promotion, something like that. Then I'm not interested in that. You really you love the country, you want to work for the country, you want to make a difference, you come to me, I'll do everything for you.